Okay, everybody, welcome to today's session on what is safety culture and why does a business need a positive one. My name is Lauren Kerrison. I work for the Tasmanian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and we are a smaller group today. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask throughout the training. The session will be recorded up until the final slide, and that's when I'll turn the recording off. So if you want to wait till afterwards to ask those questions, that's perfectly fine as well. There's also a chat box, and I can have a look at those questions towards the end as well. So we will get started on what we'll be covering today, and it should only go for around 20 to 30 minutes. That's a nice quick session. So we'll first cover what is a safety culture, why does a business need one, or why do you need a positive one? Examples of a good safety culture and what foundations set up a good safety culture as well. So if you're not familiar with what a safety culture is, basically safety culture is a combination of attitudes, values, and perceptions that influence how something is actually done in the workplace rather than how it should be done. So we have heaps of different cultures in the workplace, and today we're just specifically covering off safety culture. So why does a business need one? So a culture will evolve whether it is managed or not. So everyone has some form of safety culture. It is in the business's best interest to manage their culture to be more positive. So we'll go through some examples of what consists of a more positive safety culture versus one that's not as positive. Now, the next slide is actually a video, and I'm just going to send this video to those that join today to watch in their own time because I can't get the audio to work while I'm streaming the video. So that's a video that I'll send at the end of this session. Just basically outlines what a good safety culture looks like. Just a good 5-minute video. So here's an example of a good safety culture. So safety begins with leadership. As an employer, the manner in which you authentically convey your dedication to safety through your actions, not just words, holds significant importance. So when employees observe your prioritisation of safety, it sets the foundation for cultivating a constructive, high-performing safety culture. In such an environment, everyone demonstrates safe actions and thoughts, shares common safety values, proactively identifies and rectifies unsafe behaviours before harm occurs, emphasises the importance of prevention. A resilient and positive safety culture not only enhances safety performance, but also has the potential to positively impact overall business performance. If you've heard that saying, the standard you walk by is the standard you accept. And that's kind of how you can set a good foundation for safety culture. So as a manager, no matter how busy you are, no matter what you've got going on, don't walk past something that's not right. Don't walk past something that's not unsafe. Make sure that we're stopping and rectifying those unsafe behaviours as we see them. Because the second you walk past it, someone might observe that and they will think, oh, okay, the manager doesn't mind if we, don't wear our high-vis vests when we're supposed to, for example. So now there's a slide on each of these foundation of what sets up a good safety culture. So we'll go through adequate training and supervision, monitoring of safety, a WHS management system, considering wellness and health programs, professional development and consulting with workers. So the first one we've got is monitoring of, So we've got adequate training and supervision. This can look like a lot of different things. So first thing that most or all workers and officers, managers should be aware of is what their WHS legal requirements are. And if you don't think that they're aware of what they are, please reach out to me and I can give you a flyer on those obligations. We also run a training session that's 1 hour free of charge for workers as well. So just making sure that people understand, the bare minimum, the legislative requirements that they have under the acts and regs for WHS. You also have risk assessment and hazard identification. So what are your risks and hazards? Are your managers and employees aware of how to observe what a hazard is? What do they do if they find one? What's the process, etc.? Psychosocial hazards. This is a reasonably new topic. So people's mental well-being while they're at the workplace. Manual handling. So if you've got a manual handling related job where people are, physically moving things around warehouses, workshops, whatever it is, making sure that they've got the adequate training to ensure that they're moving their bodies correctly as well. First aid may be relevant, so you might need first aiders or mental health first aiders in the workplace as well. So these are just examples of adequate training and supervision. Training that's required for one worker in one industry is very different for what is required for another employee in another industry. So, but at a minimum, people should have an awareness of their legal requirements, awareness of hazards and risks, how to move their body correctly, as in manual handling techniques, and also a general awareness of psychosocial hazards as well. And again, that's all stuff that we can support with if you don't think that that's covered off in your workplace at the moment. You've got monitoring of their safety. So this doesn't mean that you're standing behind every worker, watching how they perform. But it is making sure that people aren't just left to their own devices and they do have some kind of supervision or support. So monitoring of safety can look like reviewing your incidents that you're having, seeing if there are any trends. If you're getting a lot of slips and trips, maybe it's time that we as a business look at, risk assessing our slip trip hazards that we have, because there's a bit of a trend there. It can also look like monitoring any injuries that you're getting, actually just spending some time on the shop floor. Maybe it's half an hour a day just to observe how people are moving, talking, working, and you might see some issues that people haven't brought up with you before. So monitoring of safety can look like a lot of different things, but it's just making sure that you're there, you're accessible if people have questions or want to talk about things. Functional WHS management system. So you may or may not have a WHS management system, but basically if you don't know what they are, a WHSMS is the abbreviation, is a set of policies, procedures and plans to systemically manage health and safety at work and can help to minimise the risk of injury and illness from workplace operations. Now, this is out of the standard mentioned there. TCCI can offer a free WHS diagnostic tool to see where there are any gaps in your WHS management system. So if you don't have one already, or if you have a WHS management system but just want it looked over, please reach out to me and I can help in that space. What we've got on the right-hand side here is an example of what a WHS management system could look like. We should all have a WHS policy. Some other ones that are often seen is incident response, risk management, drug and alcohol, contractor management, and emergency response. So having a good WHS management system in place is the foundation of a good safety culture. However, a management system it can be written beautifully, but if it's not actually put into practice, then they're effectively useless. So we've got to make sure that the commitments and the words that we're putting on these policies is something that we're actually living and breathing as a business. So for example, don't say that we're going to have 0 hazards and 0 risks in the workplace, because that's not probably possible. What you can say is we endeavour to risk assess and eliminate or reduce hazards as reasonably practically as we can. So again, if you need any support in that space, please reach out and we're happy to help there. Wellness and health programs, there's no one size fits all with these things, but what a lot of businesses can or do is they provide an EAP service. If you don't know what EAP is, it's basically a service where an employee can ring up and they can get assistance through a provider, which could look like seeing a psychologist or speaking to a counsellor. They can be phone appointments, they can be in-person appointments, and that's to support people through any work-related or non-work-related issues that they may be having. It's usually a subscription type thing. Education around health and wellness. So when's the last time you actually, spent an hour with your team members training them on something WHS related, whether it's psychosocial hazards or whether it's, how to look after yourself on shift work or things along those lines. Ensure good work-life balance. So with whatever rostering that you've got, or if you've got a 9-to-5 job, but it's really common that people are doing overtime or working weekends, ensuring that we make sure that our workers have a good work-life balance to ensure that their wellness, is in a better space. Being open and non-judgmental. when people are having conversations with us. If a worker is coming to you about something, maybe they're struggling with a certain shift rotation, or maybe they're struggling with doing consistent overtime or their job demands, instead of dismissing those issues, listening, having an open mind, and starting to work through some solutions with that worker as well. Health checks, again, not mandatory. I've worked for a business before where they have a nurse that comes to site once a year and they check your cholesterol, your BMI. They might do, a lot of people have physios on site, or, health checks can look a lot different for different people. And then gym sponsorship programs. So they might pay for your gym membership for the first month or something, for etc. So again, I'm not saying that this is what you need to do, but it is a couple suggestions or ideas for some wellness programs that you could implement in your workplace. And there are a lot of different ones out there as well. Professional development. So if you've got someone that's eager to learn, wants to do a bit more, or maybe even just your employee, so they've got that basic knowledge of what's required of them with WHS. So having some kind of development plan for that person or people. So maybe once a year you stop and you do WHS requirements under the legislation. Or maybe once a year you stop and you do risks and hazards and how to identify them and take them through a risk assessment. It could be psychosocial hazards. It looks very different for every business, but having some kind of training plan or professional development plan is very important for keeping people focused and involved in the workplace, and to feel like, you care and that they matter. So you're putting time and resources into training that person. And what's also really, really important and often overlooked is consulting with workers. So while it is actually a legal requirement that we consult with workers on matters that affect their health and safety, it's also, if a manager comes to you and says, we're implementing this system as of this date, this is what you need to do, here you go, people will kind of be like, oh, righto. But if you go to them and say, this is what we're looking at introducing, this is how we're going to look at doing it, what's your advice on this? Do you think this is going to work? People are going to be more likely to jump on board with that second approach. So it's having face-to-face conversations, running toolbox talks or meetings, maybe even at your safety committee meetings if you have a safety committee, talking about new policies or procedures or equipment, or a trending incident that's occurring at those meetings, so that you're getting input from your workers, and it's really invaluable to have that. We've also, this is just a safety culture wheel, so this is kind of setting up the foundation for what a good safety culture looks like. So it's having a good set of safety values, rules and procedures, which is your management system. Leadership, we want to make sure that leadership's on board. Recognition is often really important. So if someone brings something up or fixes a safety issue or goes out of their way to learn more about a certain topic, giving them that recognition or praise that they've done that. Having ownership of safety, and there's a few more there as well, but we've kind of gone through them with our other topics. So I think the next slide is just what we can do to support you. So have a bit of a think about where your safety culture potentially is. What we also recommend doing is a safety culture survey. So you can use things like SurveyMonkey or other survey-related engines, and you can find out what your safety culture is like. You can also come to us and we can help you review your management system. We can come and do a site visit and look at the, safety of your site. Maybe it's your fire extinguishers, emergency exits, your first aid kits. We can also provide general WHS advice, and we can also help training. So maybe you want to take your workers through WHS legal requirements or hazards, how to identify a hazard, how to perform a risk assessment, those kind of things there. So I'll stop the recording now.